why should you start a wholesale real estate business? There's a lot of us who are out here. We are what I like to call solo wholesalers. That is, you do your own campaigning, you send out your own letters, you find your own leads, you go to your appointments by yourself. You are also your own dispositions manager. You're the one building your buyers list. You're the one finding the different lists and everything for you to have more leads. You're doing everything by yourself. And pretty much you're your own employee. You're self-employed. So my idea is to transition from being self-employed into having a business. So, solo wholesaling has a cap. You can only do so much by yourself. And I understand that there's systems and different things like that for you to be able to wholesale by yourself, as far as like doing paperwork, visiting properties, meeting with sellers, all that type of thing. There's only so much you can do yourself. So there's a cap to being a solo wholesaler. Delegation is helpful. Why wouldn't you want to delegate doing certain things? So let's just say you've already talked to the seller, you've already had certain type of conversation with them where you're at a certain price point. You just have to verify whether what the seller is saying is true or not. So let's just say you're busy. Let's say you have a closing that day, and the only time that the property is going to be available to look at is at that same time that you have a closing. Well, if you go send a bird dog to it, they can still go get pictures and videos and everything of the property. I'm a firm believer that you should have your own website. I know programs like Investor Carrot. I think Sean Terry has programs where you can create a website, and it already has certain types of real estate SEO to create your own website and build your own online audience and different things like that. The way that I show you in the mastermind group, then you'll be able to cater to what you need specifically. So what your sellers may need specifically, the people who you've been targeting and retargeting, what they need specifically. Having bird dogs and boots on the ground, you really need somebody who can be in tune with the climate you're in. So if you have someone who's local to that city, they'd be way more of an asset to you rather than a VA who is just doing a job. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with doing that job. Most likely they're going to be skip tracing or cold calling, doing things like that. But when you have someone who has boots on the ground, they'll be able to point out things to you that you didn't see before. Credibility is more prominent when you have a team. So if you are approaching a seller, people are going to be more skeptical. So if you are talking about how you have a team, people automatically find you more credible, because if you have employees on your team, or even if you refer to them as independent contractors, or you even can explain what you have going on, you're like, I have an acquisitions manager, I have some bird dogs. That'll give you the upper hand over a solo wholesaler, that term that I used earlier. So if someone's working by themselves and the seller's asking them certain types of questions, and then they talk to you, then it'll be like, well, they have people that they're employing, they have people they're working with. Let me just go ahead and work with them just because I like that concept. So you already have the upper hand, and you don't have to say, oh, we're this big company, we're doing all this big stuff. You just say, no, I have 2 or 3 bird dogs on my team, I have an acquisitions manager or whatever. That type of thing. The way that our economy is going, the way that the real estate market is going, the way that the way of life period is going, there's going to be so much real estate available, you will need assistance. But if you do a good job as an investor, as a wholesaler, having a bird dog team, they won't go away. They'll just become wholesalers and send you deals. So that's just how it goes. But task delegation. So the term that I had shared with you all yesterday for my hustlers out there, you guys, and we are called solo wholesalers, as if you're doing everything by yourself. Marketing, my mail outs, and the skip tracing, all that type of stuff. Bandit signs, putting flyers on doors. Task delegation. You want to free up your time from doing all of that stuff and have your bird dogs do it. Flexible hiring. Different people who have specifically like a W-2, W-9 type of job, you have to make sure you follow by certain guidelines, and there's nothing wrong with that, at all, because you can hire your bird dogs like that with that type of paperwork and everything according to the government. But depending on how your deal flow is, you may not want to do that. You may not want to have a specific way of payment in that way. But with bird dogs, so you can hire them as a freelancer, you can hire them as a 1099 document instead of the W-9 document, and it can be also per task that they do, per closing, and that, you really have to take that up with your local laws and everything. For myself, I really don't see an issue with it, but that is the problem that people will bring up when it comes to bird dogs. But you have your hiring flexibility in that way, so you don't necessarily have to keep them on the clock for specific things all the time. You can be like, hey, can you get this done within this certain time? They can be like, yeah. or, depending on the situation, if you have an appointment that you have to meet, you can just pay them for that appointment. So you have flexible hiring opportunities. You have your mentorship and apprenticeship relationship. So I know some people may not want to mentor their employees, but I don't really see how you can't. You would like for them to be able to upgrade to being your acquisitions manager, where they're able to go get deals on their own or have their own bird dog team, so where they can bring deals for the business. You will want them to be able to get up to that level. When you have someone who's working with you, they know your wholesaling style and everything, and then you eventually want to start buying those properties or flipping those properties, renting out those properties. You don't have to have the bird dog team anymore if you don't want to. They're already sending you deals once they become a wholesaler themselves. So that is why you would want to be a mentor or have an apprentice, somebody who can work under you, figure out exactly what you like, and you and your partners. Why should you have bird dogs on your team? Boots on the ground. Having boots on the ground gives you a different type of advantage in your real estate market. Even if you are a virtual wholesaler, I do understand, some people may not be local to the areas they are investing in. That's even more reason for you to get bird dogs. Having boots on the ground gives you an unfair advantage to what other investors may not have. So you'll see where all the construction is going on. You can see who's moving in and out of where. You can see where a lot of the distressed properties are. You can see what areas are coming up. You can get a lot more done with multiple people with boots on the ground. And you can have them put out your bandit signs and your flyers and stuff like that. So you have your own brand ambassador / your marketing team. Now, going back to the flyering and bandit signs, leverage, okay? So you're leveraging people, time, and resources. Now, people get a kind of a weird vibe when you say you're leveraging people, but think about it. What are you doing in every single real estate transaction? You're leveraging people. Imagine you could deed it over to a buyer. You could do it like that without having a title company. But with a title company, you're leveraging their resources and their education and their securities and everything to make sure that the real estate transaction goes through properly. Now, this is a little bit different from having bird dogs specifically, because also in the mastermind, aside from having a team, we also talk about your audience and your presence on the internet. With the way things are going and the climate we're in, it's very, very vital for you to have an online presence of some sort. Even if you just have simple social media pages and you don't even have a website, I highly recommend having social media and a website, at the very least an Instagram and Facebook page, possibly a Twitter and a YouTube channel, but Instagram and Facebook are very, very important for really any business in the current climate we're in. With the way the internet is, how everything's gone in 2020, people will want to have a reputable source to be able to back up, whether, this person is reaching out to me, this company's reaching out to me, I want to use this company, but let me make sure. You're going to do a Google search, and you need to make sure that your company is popping up when they type in your name or your company name, so you're also leveraging your resources. Having a solid foundation and having deal flow. So when you have your foundation set, you're making 6 figures in your business, then you can shift into doing other things. So if you are doing the regular type of wholesale transaction that most people are doing, which is assigning your contracts to a buyer, you can then move on to doing things like wholetailing, lease options, different things like that, where you're still not, with wholetailing, you will own the property for a short period of time, but you're not planning to flip it the same way that a house flipper would. As far as doing a full rehab, you'd just be doing a slight rehab, or you may not even have to rehab the house at all, depending on the condition. You probably just got it at a good deal, a good price, to where you can just put it on the MLS and sell it to someone else. But in most cases, that may not be the case, but it's okay. Once you have that 6-figure business already set up, you'll be able to do more deals like that, to where even you could probably even hire a dispositions manager to take care of the regular wholesale deals. You're also, in this process, you're building capital for purchases and creative deals. Going back to what I was saying before, you really want to make sure you have cash on hand. And really, the way that everything's going, there's going to be so much real estate on the market, you guys. There's going to be so much real estate on the market within the next 1 to 5 years. It's going to be incredible. This next point has to do with your online presence and any type of marketing that you may do. Your brand gains momentum, meaning effortless marketing. So when we talk about effortless marketing, that could go whether we're talking about your website or your social media, someone happens to find you, or your recommendations based off of your deals that you're currently doing with you and your team having branding materials, whether that's wearing t-shirts or they have car magnets and everything like that.